You know, scientific discovery is all about pushing boundaries, right? From creating life-saving medicines to understanding how life itself works. But a lot of the time, this progress involves animals, and that brings up a really big question. When our search for knowledge meets our responsibility to care for animals, what are the rules? What's in place to make sure that research is done ethically? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the official playbook that governs animal research right here in the Philippines. And really, that's the big question at the heart of this whole thing, isn't it? It's not just about what scientists can do, but what they should do. And maybe more importantly, who is making sure that line is never crossed? So who's the advocate for the animals in the lab?
Well, the answer actually comes from a specific government rule, Administrative Order Number 40. It was issued by the Philippine Department of Agriculture way back in 1999. This single document lays out the entire system, all the rules, the committees, the practices, all designed to protect animals during scientific work. So to really get it, we first need to understand what it even covers.
Okay, so first things first, what are we even talking about here? What counts as a scientific procedure? Well, it's not just what you might imagine in some fancy high-tech lab. The definition is super broad. It covers everything from biomedical research to teaching in a classroom to testing if products are safe and even making things like anti-sera.
And that word, manipulation, it sounds pretty intense, right? But in this context, it just means any deliberate interference with an animal's normal body. This could be anything from giving it a new drug to putting it through some kind of stress test or, of course, performing surgery. The key is that these are actions that could potentially cause pain or distress. All right, so we know what kinds of activities are regulated. The next question is, who's doing the regulating? You might think it's some far-off government agency, but that's not how it works. The responsibility is actually placed on a special committee, right there at the institution. So let's meet these gatekeepers.
And this part is a really big deal. It's totally non-negotiable. Any place, a university, a private lab, a company, if they conduct scientific procedures on animals, they must have what's called an Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee. You'll see it called an IACUC for short.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because look who has to be on this committee. It's all about balance. You need at least 3 people. First, a licensed veterinarian, that makes sense, they understand animal health. Second, an experienced scientist who gets the research side. And third, and this is so important, a public member who has nothing to do with the institution. This person is there to bring an outside perspective, to be the voice of the community, and to make sure it's not just an echo chamber.
And believe me, this committee isn't just for show. They have real power. Their main job is to look at every single research plan and either approve it or deny it before it can start. But they also keep an eye on the institution's entire animal care program. They do regular inspections of the facilities, and they have to file a report every year with the government's Bureau of Animal Industry. It's a constant loop of oversight.
But wait, it's not like an institution can just create an IACUC and start doing research. Before that committee can even approve a single study, the whole institution has to get an official green light from the government. This is all about making sure the entire system is set up properly from day one.
And this slide really breaks it down. To get authorized, an institution has to check 4 major boxes. First, they have to submit their big master plan for animal care, the ACUP. Think of it as their constitution. Second, they need proof that this program is accredited. Third, they have to prove they have a real training program for the people actually handling the animals. And finally, they have to certify that their IACUC is up and running.
Okay, so let's picture this. The institution is authorized. The IACUC is in place. Now what? Let's zoom in and look at how one specific research project goes from just an idea on paper to an actual approved procedure. This right here is the golden rule. Nothing, and I mean nothing, happens without prior approval. A researcher can't just wake up one day and decide to start an experiment. They have to write up a super detailed plan, submit it to the IACUC, and that committee has to give it the thumbs up before a single animal is involved. It's a critical safety net. But, you know, not all research is created equal when it comes to animal welfare. The rules get that. So they sort procedures into 3 different categories based on how severe the impact might be. Category 1 is for low-impact stuff, like taking a tiny blood sample. Category 2 is for more moderate things, like most drug tests or a major surgery where the animal gets good pain control. Then there's Category 3. That's for procedures with substantial severity, where serious illness or even death is a potential outcome.
So why does this all matter? Well, the category a procedure falls into directly changes how it gets reviewed.
Something in Category 1 might just need a quick review by the head of the committee. But a high-risk Category 3 procedure? Oh no, that requires a full-blown review by the entire committee, making sure that the riskiest research gets the most careful consideration.
Okay, now we need to talk about something that's, well, it's a difficult but absolutely critical part of these regulations. What happens at the end of a procedure, when euthanasia is the necessary step? The rules are incredibly specific here, and it's all about making it humane.
The whole guiding idea is right there in the official definition. The goal is a painless death, and it has to be done rapidly and humanely. That sets a really clear, high standard that everything else has to live up to.
And building on that definition, the rules get even more specific about how it's done. The process has to cause the absolute minimum amount of fear and anxiety, it has to be as free of pain and distress as possible, and it must always, always be done privately, away from public view. Every single detail is focused on dignity for the animal in its final moments.
So, when you step back and look at all of this, the committees, the paperwork, the inspections, the rules, what's the big idea here? What is the whole philosophy behind this entire system? It really all boils down to one key concept. And there it is. This quote, pulled right from the introduction of the regulation, says it all. The government's goal isn't to micromanage every single experiment from an office somewhere. The idea is to empower the institutions to manage themselves using their own IACUCs. It's a system built on the principle of self-regulation.
So, to put it simply, the government provides the rulebook, they set the standards, and they demand accountability. But the day-to-day job of making sure research is ethical, that falls on the shoulders of the institutions themselves, and especially on their IACUCs. It's a system built on trust, but also on verification through all those reports and inspections.
You know, this whole framework was set up over 2 decades ago. It created a system of checks and balances designed to do 2 things at once: protect animals and allow vital research to move forward. But it leaves us with one last really important question to think about. As science gets more and more advanced, and as our own understanding of animals grows, how do we make sure that this delicate balance between progress and welfare keeps evolving for the better?